us to Havelock on our way to Nelson. So what's special about this area?
So Shelley, what's special about Havelock is how it's the centre for green shell mussel aquaculture in New Zealand. And we can see here we've got the boats and the processing facilities and everything that you need to make an aquaculture industry work. And this is what we want to achieve with the seaweed industry.
Right, so aquaculture is essentially farming at sea. So we've got the mussel industry, we may have a seaweed industry, but what species of seaweed do you think would be farmed?
So we're still trying to figure out all the different species we can farm, and different species are going to be used for different things. So for example, we can grow some of our big kelps that can be used for fertilizers. We've got all those different red algae that we've seen. They've got different chemicals in them that make them special. And even some of those other species like that invasive Aotearoa that we saw in Kaikoura, that's eaten by lots of people around the world. So there's a chance we could grow that here in New Zealand and use that to feed people.
Yeah, and that's actually a really interesting thought, to think that you might be able to farm an invasive species and whether that would be beneficial and some of the disadvantages that might be associated with it. You might want to discuss that with your classmates. So what would a seaweed farm look like?
So to start with, we're probably going to be using existing technologies, things that we already have for our mussel farms, so it's the big buoys and the long lines. Right.
And are there any benefits, not just to people, but to the environment?
Yeah, just like we saw with the wild seaweed, there's lots of ecosystem services provided by the seaweed farms, sort of feeding other fish that are around there, absorbing some of the CO2 and the nutrients in the water. So we're hoping that the seaweed farms will not only be economically really valuable, but also valuable to different people and the communities around and the environment too.
Really interesting, and looking forward to heading to the lab later to find out more about what's being studied in terms of seaweed species and how they might be farmed and what they might be used for. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Shelley.